Okay, so as you guys noticed in class on Thursday, we were having some trouble rendering cross dissolves and other things like that in your sequences for the editing assignment. So, for example, I'm in Aaron's project right now, and he has a sequence with a cross dissolve, and it has that little yellow line there. And what that means is that the computer needs to make new pixels. And normally it's just a matter of setting your in and out points over the part that you want to render, and then going up here to sequence, and then render into out, and then it would work for a second and this would go away or it would become a green line. But what you were getting was this render into out, and then immediately this crashes and you get this error, and we could not figure out why. Okay, so after spending all afternoon on Friday trying to get to the bottom of it, this is what we discovered. Let me reopen the project. Okay, so here's what we discovered. You know from class that when we talk about frame rate being 24 or 30, we're usually talking about 23.976 and 29.97, which is what the digital equivalent of those two frame rates is. This stuff you see is actually really 24.00 frames per second. Some nicer cameras allow you to do this, especially if you're going to sort of use digital in conjunction with film. If you want to talk about it more in class, we can. But the bottom line is this should have been in 23.976, and it's actually in 24. I don't remember shooting it that way. I don't know if it got transcoded that way at some point, but I just noticed it this semester, and for whatever reason, Premiere is having trouble with it. Even though we were running the same version of Premiere last semester, it didn't have trouble with it. Now, all of a sudden, it cannot seem to render sequences that are in 24 frames a second. And you'll notice that the sequence itself is also 24 frames a second. Okay, so let me just show you what I've now done. Okay, so what I have done is I have transcoded all of the footage from 24 frames a second to 23.976, and I've replaced it on your partitions. So I finished doing this on Friday evening, and if you open your projects, after that, if you've opened your project after that, what you'll see if you look is that all this stuff should be 23.976, but your sequence is still 24 frames a second. That means that a sequence that before was all pretty without any lines up here now probably either has yellow lines or possibly even red lines all over it, and it also probably doesn't look quite right. So this is what you need to do. You need to create a new sequence. So maybe I'll change Aaron's here to old, something like that. Old 24.00 frames per second. Okay. And then I'm going to make a new sequence, and I'm going to do that using one of my new 23.976 clips. Okay, so I'm going to drag over here so that I know that these sequence settings are correct. I'm immediately going to change this to editing assignment, 23.976, something to that effect, and put that in the sequences bin. If I can get out there to it. All right. And again, you'll want to make sure that whatever sequence you have at the end is very clear that it's the final version. So I've got the sequence now in the sequences bin. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go into my old sequence, and I'm going to select all of this stuff. I can either do that, or I can do Command A for all, Command C for copy, and then open up this new one and Command V, paste. Okay. Now there's still yellow here, but at least the sequence is 23.976, so that it should match up. And if I try to render something, sequence, render into out, hooray! It works. Now you will have to render the entire thing, unfortunately, but it's still going to be better than it was before. So sequence, render into out, and this should go pretty quickly. And then at the end of this process, you can actually see here where these yellow lines are turning green. And this should allow you to render out all your cross dissolves and anything else you need to before you export. And that's it. So if you have any questions, basically all it is open up your project, be aware that I've changed the footage, make a new sequence that's 23.976, and copy your previous editing into that sequence, and you should be good to go. All right, let me know if you have questions.